Welcome back to another video. We're exactly halfway through 2026 and I'm going to do my first mid-year book freakout tag. And thus far in 2026, I've read 48 books. I am a little bit late, being 10 days into July, but I only found out about this tag today. So welcome to my first ever mid-year book freakout tag. And for those of you that were unaware of what that is, it's a series of questions relating to your reading for the year. And I looked over them this morning, decided they look like fun questions, and I've decided that I'm going to answer them here with you. There are a bunch of different questions on this list that don't really apply to me personally, so I've just scrapped those. I'm going to answer the ones that I am interested in and I think will present as interesting questions, book sharing, and answers. And for those of you that are new here, my name's Tim. I'm a writer, I'm a reader, and I'm a creator. And in today's video, we're going to yap about some books. We're going to yap about my favorite books, books that I enjoyed, books that surprised me, my new favorite authors, and all those books that I'm excited to read on the back end of 2026. So yeah, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let's jump in. Question number 1, the best book that I've read in 2026. Well, that's a bit of a hard question. You see, I've got 4 favorites and I've gone back and forth, and it would almost depend on the moment of the day that you are asking me what book is my favorite and the reasons why. But I'm going to share with you the one that I've landed on. I should also mention there are 3 books on this list that I've reread this year that are my previous favorites and have already made my favorites list. The first being Tim Winton's Breath, the second being Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey, and the third being Barbarian Days by William Finnegan. But I've chosen to pick a book that I read brand new this year as my favorite for 2026 thus far. And when it came down to choosing, and I mean really choosing, I kept coming back to A Great Act of Love by Heather Rose. This book is a historical fiction novel set in Van Diemen's Land, also known as Tasmania, in 1836. It follows the story of a woman of great means who arrives in Hobart. She is leaving behind everything she knows in England, and along the way, she takes a young boy into her care. And she starts a new life in Hobart, in a new part of the world with new people and new characters. But she's holding a secret, and she's keeping a secret of such great means that you will never guess the secret. Heather Rose writes this novel in a way that makes you feel like she lived these experiences. The tiny details, the aspects of connecting all the dots to the emotions of this person and the love and the shame and the complexity that comes with being people. A Great Act of Love is this beautiful, stunning novel of this woman who is trying to rewrite her life and rewrite her history, but it is also this novel that tenders on love and father and daughter relationships and the great act that love is in our lives. And truthfully, a sensational novel that surprised me in how much I ended up loving it. A couple of honorable mentions in this category: East of Eden, John Steinbeck. You know. The other one is Foster by Claire Keegan, which I've spoken about ad nauseum on this channel, so I'm not going to go into that either. But, whew. And the last honorable mention, Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This was the hardest of the bunch not to choose. I just feel like I am still in the pages of this novel. And truthfully, this novel was a very, very close second. Anyway, question number 2 and question number 3 are a question that I'm going to combine into the same question. The question reads, new release you haven't read yet, but want to. And the question 3, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I'm combining them mostly because the releases that I'm really excited for at the moment happen to be books that have just come out in the last week or two from people that I know or author friends or people that I have looked up to for a long time. So I've decided to combine the question because there's a couple on this list. First up is from my boy, Matt Rogers, The Damned, which is the sequel from The Forsaken, which came out this time last year. I love The Forsaken. I love Matt's writing. Matt writes crime, action, thriller novels that you simply cannot sit and relax as you're reading because they are so high paced and so high strung. And so I'm really looking forward to The Damned by Matt Rogers. Next up is The Lineup by Nicholas Timms, who is an Australian author, and he got to release his debut book just this week. The Lineup is Rear Window meets Point Break. A washed up surfer watches a murder on a live surf cam, and he's got to go back to Byron Bay to see if he can determine who the murderer was. I'm in. That's it. I'm absolutely in. I love myself a good thriller. Anyway, congratulations. I also have Find Me by Holly Craig. I've heard fantastic things about this. I don't know a tremendous amount about it, but it is on my list. And the final one on this list is a book that doesn't get released until September. It's Hate to Love You by Josh Hortonella. It's a romance. I'm not a romance reader, but Josh is an Instagram friend and just seems like a lovely man, and he has sold me on the pitch. So that is also a book that I'm looking forward to, and a genre that I am interested in branching out into every now and then. Biggest disappointment, unfortunately for me, was London Falling by Patrick Keefe. It just wasn't what I expected it to be. I didn't dislike it. I didn't think it was poorly written. I thought it was incredible research and history and craftsmanship. It just didn't tickle the thing in my brain that I expected it to tickle in my brain. That's it. But I want to say that this is a book that many people have enjoyed and many people are recommending and fits that space. It's just not something that I enjoyed personally, and it just missed something for me, and I don't entirely know what. And I don't usually get on here and talk about the books that have disappointed me because I often don't go into things with huge expectations of any kind. And I also think that there's enough people in the world that enjoy the things that you don't like, and therefore I don't feel the need to add negativity to any of that. So while it wasn't for me, it's for so many other people, and that is fundamentally okay. And in fact, makes me really happy. So yeah. Which brings me to the next question. The biggest surprise book of 2026 has to be The Correspondent by Virginia Evans for me. This is a book that I feel like I am not the target audience for, and I was absolutely in love with it. It follows this woman in the latest stage of her life, and the entire book is through the correspondence of letters and writing emails and the back and forth that she has with the people in her life. It's beautiful while devastating, but it just feels like you've gone back in time. And I loved this old school format of writing letters to the people in your life, and that being a large form of your communication. So much so that since then I have begun very slowly to write letters to my friends in a way that talks about those bigger things and slows down a little bit and really allows time and breath and space. And so yeah, this felt like a really unconventional novel that I don't think I am the target reader for, but I loved it nonetheless. So yeah, big surprise there. Question number 5, favorite new author. It has to be Helen Garner. I've read 2 of her books this year, and I am so looking forward to adding her entire collection and reading through her entire collection over the next few years here. I feel like I have heard about Helen Garner my whole life, and I have just never picked up any of her work. She lives on the page, she's reflective, and she's so ever honest in her work, and I've really learned a lot from that. Favorite fictional character, it's got to be Gus or Captain Augustus McCrae from Lonesome Dove. Witty, charismatic, wearing his heart on his sleeve. He is the heart and charm of this story, and it is a love story, and I feel like he is at the center of this story. I just couldn't get enough of his voice and the way that he thought and how openly, honestly human he was. Honestly, what a book. It's honestly such a treasure, and I'm so glad I waited to this point in my life to finally read it rather than trying to read it a long time ago, because I feel like I just appreciate it so much more. Right, book that made me cry. It would probably be easier at this point to list the books that didn't make me cry. I feel like so many of them. I feel like the one that really got me, maybe a little bit of a surprise, but Always Home, Always Homesick was a really big one on that list. Just devastatingly relatable, and I feel like I have not quite come to terms with the feeling of being away from home for such a long period of time. Act of Love definitely made me sob. Lonesome Dove, without a doubt. Foster was devastating, also made me cry. Okay, so I cry a lot at books. Anyone else? Let me know in the comments if you also cry a whole bunch at books, because I most definitely do. Anyway, let's move on to something happier. What book made me happy this year? Breath by Tim Winton did, actually. And I think part of it was the language. I think part of it was reliving my own childhood through these characters. I think part of it was the landscape and the scenery and the place was just engulfing. And as I was thinking about this question, I feel like most books don't live in this world of happy, but our emotions, depending on where we're at and what we're feeling and how our life is going, is really dictated by a lot of those things. And reading a particular thing at the right time can make you incredibly happy, but reading it further down the line might make you incredibly sad. And this book has devastated me before, but it gave me this beautiful lesson that our life is dictated by our decisions and how we act in accordance to those decisions and in accordance to those actions. And honestly, I feel like I just got to the end of this novel here and I just felt like I'd made some incredibly good decisions, and that made me incredibly happy. So anyway, that's Breath. And the final question, what books do I need to read before the end of the year? I knew it was coming, but this is a hard one. A few weeks ago, I made a video about trying to read my entire physical TBR pile. I'm not allowed to buy any books until I complete the reading of my physical TBR pile. At that period of time, there was 22 books on my physical TBR pile, and I'll link the video below because I thought it was a fun video. But so far I've read 8 of those books and I'm currently reading 2 others, which means I have 12 remaining, kinda. And since then I've been gifted 3 books, and yeah, they've also been added tentatively. But the ones that I still have remaining are these. So I've taken off half my bookshelf here, but I'm going to give you the entire pile. All right, How to Tell a Story by Moth. A Cup of Gold by John Steinbeck. This is his first ever novel. I have Moby Dick, and there's going to be a big video on this one that I'm quite looking forward to. Eating the Dinosaur by Chuck Kolsterman. I've got How to Build a Boat. I've got Defiance by Bob Brown. I have Lines of the Horizon. I have A Far-Flung Life. King Leopold's Ghost. The Ancients. The Art of Breaking Ice by Rachel Mead. And I've got The Turning, a Tim Winton short story collection. It's a big old list of books, and I decided a couple of months back that rather than buying new books and forgetting about the ones that I already own, that I want to read, that I'm excited to read, I've decided to read the ones that I own, which is, yeah, you know what that's like. Of course you do. You're watching a book-related video. But yeah, that's my physical TBR. So I'm pretty excited to get into all of those ones, and I'm pretty excited to share some of the ones that I have already read that are living over there. Anyway, thank you for the ongoing support on this channel. I truly wouldn't have an internet presence at all if it wasn't for books. So yapping about books, talking about books, sharing books is an incredible experience, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So thanks to you for supporting and sharing and liking and subscribing. It goes a really long way in all of this. In the comments below, let me know your answers to those questions. I'm incredibly interested in what everyone's favorite book thus far is, what their surprises are, and even their disappointments. I've got a couple of videos in the next couple of weeks that I am incredibly excited about. One may or may not be a reading vlog of the Silmarillion. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out, and I will see you in the next one.